Hey everyone and welcome! Today we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating scientific metric that's starting to pop up more and more when we talk about water, ORP. We're going to break down what it actually is, why people are suddenly so interested in it, and what it could mean for the water we drink every single day.
So let me just start by asking you this. When you pour yourself a glass of water, what are you thinking? Probably just that you're thirsty, right? Well, the material we're looking at today suggests there might be a whole other dimension to water quality, one that could actually be playing a role in our overall health.
And to really get why any of this matters, we first have to talk about something that's happening inside all of us all the time. It's this sort of invisible battle going on in our bodies, and it's called oxidative stress.
So what exactly is that? Well, in the simplest terms, oxidative stress is what happens when things get out of balance in our system. The troublemakers here are these tiny, really unstable molecules called free radicals. And according to the source, these little guys can wreak havoc on our cells.
Now you might be thinking, cellular damage? Okay, what's the big deal? Well, according to the source material, it's a huge deal. This isn't some minor issue. Oxidative stress is being linked to everything from everyday inflammation to making us age faster, and it may even play a part in some chronic diseases. So you can see why figuring out how to fight back is so important. And that brings us right to the main event of our explainer today, ORP. The best way to think about it is like a secret code in water that can tell us about its properties, way beyond just whether or not it's wet.
Okay, so ORP stands for Oxidation Reduction Potential. I know, it sounds super scientific and complex, but the basic idea is actually pretty simple. It's just a way to measure if a substance, in this case water, wants to give away its electrons or grab them from somewhere else. And that difference is everything.
And you know, this isn't some brand new term cooked up for a health trend. ORP has some serious scientific roots. It was originally used in environmental science to figure out how well a lake or a river could naturally clean itself up and break down pollutants. So it comes from a pretty solid background.
And like any real scientific measurement, it has a unit. ORP is measured in something called millivolts, or just MV for short. This lets us put a hard number on water's potential.
But here's the twist. The number itself isn't the whole story. The real secret, the part that gets people talking, is whether that number is positive or negative. That's what tells us if the water is an electron giver or an electron taker.
Let's break that down. Water with a positive ORP is what we call an oxidizing agent. It wants to take electrons, which makes it great for things like disinfection. But water with a negative ORP, well, that's a reducing agent. It's the complete opposite. It's loaded with extra electrons that it's ready to give away, which is exactly why our source calls it an antioxidant agent. This quote from the source really just nails it. A negative ORP value is basically a sign that says, hey, this water is packed with electrons ready to go. And you guessed it, that's the property that has so many people excited.
So, how does this all circle back to that invisible battle raging in our bodies? Well, this is where we get to the core claim from the source, the idea that this kind of water could actually help neutralize those damaging free radicals.
All right, so here's the proposed play-by-play. First, you've got the problem. Those unstable free radicals are bouncing around, causing oxidative stress and damaging cells. Then, the potential hero enters, negative ORP water, which is just full of electrons. So what does it do? It generously donates one of its electrons to a free radical. This stabilizes the free radical, essentially disarming it. The potential result? Less overall cellular damage from all that oxidative stress.
Okay, this all sounds really promising in theory, so let's get down to the practical side of it. What are the real-world applications? And, just as important, what do we need to keep in mind?
Well, according to the source, this isn't just a hypothetical thing anymore. We're seeing modern technology that is specifically engineered to create water with a negative ORP. The goal is to enhance water's properties so it does more than just filter.
But, and this is a really big but, it is absolutely crucial to keep a balanced view here. The source material itself stresses caution. The science in this specific area is still pretty new and it's evolving. That's why it's so important to talk to health professionals for real guidance and to just keep an eye on new studies as they come out.
So let's just do a quick 30-second recap. We started with the problem, oxidative stress. Then we learned about the tool that helps us measure a potential fix. That's ORP. And finally, we dove into how negative ORP water is being proposed as that potential solution.
And that really leaves us with a fascinating, kind of mind-bending thought to wrap up with.
For decades, the entire conversation around water has been about what we can filter out of it. But what if the future of hydration isn't about removal, but about addition? What if the real question becomes, what beneficial properties can we engineer into our water? It's a whole new way of thinking about the most essential substance on Earth.